Carli Lloyd, the soccer player, great soccer player, female. Did you see the video of her kicking a 55-yard field goal?
Yes.
Well, apparently, a few NFL teams have reached out to her about kicking for them in a preseason game.
I could see it.
And she may actually do it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rob G.
She can't do it.
She may kick. She's not going to do it?
Rob, I thought
there was talk she might do it this Thursday.
I thought she has a conflict.
Yeah, she says she was reportedly considering it, but the fact that it is at the same time as a international friendly she has for soccer,
right. She can't,
would probably be the reason why she wouldn't do it.
I would love to see that.
Let me just say
Look at
something.
Chris. Here we go.
Let me just say something, and I'm a man with 2 daughters. I live in a house with 3 women, so I'm not chauvinistic or anything.
Uh-oh, here we go. What'd you say, Chris? Barefoot, pregnant? Go ahead, continue it.
And look, this has nothing to do with Carli Lloyd being a female.
USC, Chris, get that dump button ready.
I am telling you.
I'm a woman.
This is a gimmick. Teams asking her to kick in a preseason game is a gimmick.
Why is it a gimmick?
They want ratings. They want buzz. Here's why it's a gimmick. Because anybody that watched that video of her kicking a 55-yard field goal, it was nice, fine. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from her. But if you really look at it, anybody that sits here, and I know these football executives know this, the ones that called her and all that, and come kick for us, they know this. She was 5 yards back when she started moving toward kicking that ball. And if you watch NFL kickers, they are 3 yards back.
All right, Chris, she can't make an adjustment of 2 yards? You're making it
you can't. It's a big difference. Watch the NFL kickers when they kick off. They could kick field goals from 75, 80 yards when
Chris,
they kick off. Let me finish.
Okay,
Because I'm serious. I'm not, this is not sexist or anything. I'm just saying the fact that she had a 5-yard running start or 5-yard start, kicked the field goal without padding on, equipment on, without a pass rush or a rush, nobody would think that's going to correlate to being able to kick a field goal in a game with rushers, in equipment, with a 3-yard start. Like I said, if you watch kickers on kickoffs, they can put it through the uprights from the other 35-yard line. When they have a several yards back and they have that type of start, and that's what she had, and you can't make the adjustment because the reason they only go from 3 yards is because the rushers are coming too quickly. But that's my point. Like, you can't, and if you want to give a female a shot, a real shot, there's a female kicker in Division II, Adams State. I forgot her name. But give her a shot. If you really want to give a female and be fair about it, it's like the Condoleezza Rice thing. What was she going to become, a head coach?
She was.
Were we talking about that? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Give a female who really is into football, not just a fan, but works in the game. If you want to give somebody a chance, do it that way. Don't make it a gimmick. I'm actually standing up for women.
Don't they call it soccer football? I mean, so what's the difference, Chris?
Difference between soccer and football? Is that what you're saying?
Here's my point, though, is what are you against giving her a shot? If she can't make it.
I'm just saying it's a gimmick.
If she gets it blocked, what if she's good? You know how many bad NFL kickers there are? The Bears just lost the playoffs. The Bears lost the playoffs because the guy couldn't kick a chip shot when it mattered most.
I'm saying she shouldn't go along with the gimmick.
Why?
And she's not.
Why
Don't be used as a gimmick, as a tool.
But what if she's good enough and she can make it, Chris?
Well, then let's see her kick from a 3-yard start than a 5-yard start with guys rushing before we throw her in there.
But why?
That's like saying somebody went out there and hit a 3-pointer. Oh, let's put him in the NBA.
No, but that could happen, though, once she gets on the team and she practices and they get a look.
That's not how it works, Rob.
Why?
You make the team. You don't be given a spot.
Yes, you do.
No, you have to earn it.
They're giving her a tryout. They give people tryouts all the time. Chris,
they
who
can
don't
give
make
her
the
a
team.
tryout. You said once she's on the team.
Yeah, so she give her a tryout.
You can try out, but we didn't see a tryout. We saw an exhibition that has nothing to do with a football game. I'm trying to protect her. Don't be used as a gimmick, as a prop, just to create buzz. I'm actually on Carli's side.
The only thing I'll say,
y'all throw her out there to the wolves.
Put her out there. But the only thing is that she can't have the placeholder using a oven mitt. You know what I mean? To hold a football. That will not be allowed.
Look at you. And you got the nerve to call me, talk about me wanting them barefoot and pregnant and all that.
No, I'm all in. I'm all in on giving people opportunities. If she's no good, you cut her. Let her get a shot at it, Chris. If she can't make the field goal or she gets a block.
So we should just put her on the team?
No, I mean a tryout first, and then if she can make a couple in tryouts, give her a chance to kick in a real game under pressure with the rush, Chris.
Let's put her in practice first. Let's put her in practice.
So you're not against her going to practice in a tryout?
No, I was not. No, she can earn it, but I think there are other people that would deserve it before her. But if she could earn it, then yeah, I'd be all for it.
Okay, that's different then.
Listen to what Keenan Allen. Yeah, it wasn't about her being a woman. It was about looking at that video and saying that's got nothing to do with real football, even just kicking the football. Because he had a giant start that normal kickers don't get, and they don't get it because there's a pass rush. Here's what Keenan Allen, the wide receiver, said. Sounds sweet, and about her kicking for a team. Till somebody blocks the kick and all of a sudden she's on defense. It would be like the stampede scene in the Lion King movie.
I think
she do got a boot though.
But you know what? I'll say this. How many of the other kickers, when they have in that situation, Chris, they get run over like a stampede. They look frail. They're pushed down and they fall over.
And Ralph, y'all can get in this.
No,
I saw a kicker. Who was that kicker? Was he for the Browns? He drilled somebody on the kickoff last week.
Who
was that?
But most of the kickers are weak and frail.
No, stop it.
And they're not even football players.
No, these guys are studs. These guys were athletes at a certain level.
No, they weren't. They were soccer players.
They're not athletes at the pro level, but in high school, a lot of them were actually pretty decent athletes.
I don't have a problem.
No, a woman doesn't need to be out there when it gets rough. I mean, there's a reason, there's a difference. Nah, she don't need to be out there when it gets rough.
You sound like when Billie Jean King wanted to play tennis.
That's tennis. That's tennis. And there's a difference. Nah, you know that.
What was his name? Bobby Riggs.
He was old.
Right, Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King. Didn't she beat him?
She beat him. He was old.
All right.
Let her get out there with Arthur Ashe or Jimmy Connors or something. Are men not better?
And then you would say that
men are better tennis players. Serena said it. Serena said she couldn't beat the top-ranked men. She knows it.
She could beat you.
Yeah, she could stomp me. My cousin that played at Xavier in New Orleans stomped me at a family reunion. I'm still hurting from that.
Right?
Yeah, she destroyed me in front of all the relatives.
That must have been embarrassing.
6061.
What?
But I did get one more win than my other cousin who's a male.
Wow.
She beat him 6060, so I felt good about that. All right. Should the thought of Carli Lloyd kicking in the NFL be taken seriously? Or is this just a media gimmick like Broussard says? All right, Rob, do you have anything else to say about this Carli Lloyd? You really want to beat the drum for her to be in the NFL?
I just have no problem with giving her a shot. If she can do it, fine. If she can't, she doesn't make the team. I'm with that, Chris. I'm not trying to say give her something special, but we've seen so many bad kickers in the NFL.
But bringing her having her kick in an NFL preseason game, be based on that one little kick we saw in the video, that would be giving her something special, and it would be a gimmick. It would be using her. That's what it would be.
The Eagles had a guy who was a bartender one week, and they put him on a team, right? Didn't they make
Is that about the movie they made?
Yeah,
he made the team.
That's a real story, though.
He made the team.
But he was a bartender.
A good movie.
No, I know he was a bartender.
But he had some football experience.
She has football.
He dominated the little rec games that they used to play on Sundays. Didn't you see the movie?
He was
dominant.
What about the A's? Didn't they get a guy too off the street, the Oakland A's, right? It's happened.
No, first of all, getting guys off the street that played the sport Has she ever played football?
Well, you know what? We got Randy in Charlotte. I think you probably text him. So let's talk to Randy.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to protect Carly.
All right.
If she wants to go out to practice and kick under the real conditions that kickers kick under, and she looks great, I'm all for it.
All right, let's hear what Randy has to say. You're on The Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Randy?
How's it going, fellas?
Doing right, man.
My take on this is what's going to happen when the defense breaks down. Now she's in harm's way of having to have a grown man tackle her.
Right.
Well, but you would know it if you were playing. You mean to tell me you would drive her into the ground, or would you?
Hold on, it's football.
Or would you just push her down?
No, if she's out there on the field,
I'm asking
she's
you, Randy.
in danger getting drilled.
All right, you know that the kicker's female. All right, you got her. What do? I would just tell her to lay down, and I won't hit you, and I won't knock you down.
She would probably hit you.
That's my point. Like, I wouldn't even want to be around an NFL player coming at me, much less, I can't imagine a female, how the player's going to feel when it's time to lay into her.
Randy, what would happen if the Panthers had a female kicker and she kicked the game-winning and sent you to the Super Bowl? You would be in love with that woman, wouldn't you?
You're making a heck of a jump, Rob.
I would love her to death.
You would love her.
But I hate to also be the player on the defense that had to, line up, square up knowing you're getting ready to smash a female into the
right. Rob, don't act like there's no difference.
No, I'm just saying. I'm all about equal opportunity. If you could do the job, you should get the job.
But football is a heck of a job. There's a reason we frown on men hitting women, because there's a difference in the sexes, and so football is a sport where you hit. So we don't want to see him hitting women. I know you agree with me on that.
Yes, but I have no problem if she was good enough and she could make the kicks. I would be okay with. I'm not
saying. Like I said, there's a female playing college football. She's kicking at Division II Adams State. Now give her a shot, because she's kicking under real conditions.
And from what I heard, the only time she missed a kick was when her hair got in her way while she was making the kick. No. Okay,
you may have hit
done.
a new low.
I'm done.
That was one of your worst.
I'm done.
Kawhi gave you no love.
I'm done.
I think I'm moving to Mexico.
Yes, I'm done.
We are pleased to bring in our next guest. He does a tremendous job with sharpfootballanalysis.com. That's sharpfootballanalysis.com. His name is Warren Sharp. You can follow him on Twitter at Sharp Football, but he does a tremendous job, really deep into the analytics, and wrote a great story post Andrew Luck retirement about how Ryan Grigson, the GM for several of Luck's years there in Indianapolis, failed to put an offensive line in front of Luck, and that is the reason he's banged up, and that, of course, is what led to his retirement. So, Warren, great to have you on the show.
What's happening?
Kind of explain the premise of your article and how, it really tells the story of what happened to Andrew Luck.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, guys. Definitely happy to talk to you about this, and it certainly was fascinating doing the research into this article, because I think a lot of us who watched the Colts and watched Andrew Luck trying to compete for several years there with Tom Brady in the AFC Championship games knew that he was sort of playing with one arm tied behind his back to an extent, because he didn't have a great offensive line in front of him. And so we always just assumed, that this is just a feature, not a bug. Like, the team was decent, but they didn't have a great offensive line, and so we just needed, a play here, a play there, and they always fell considerably short. But when you look back in hindsight now, retrospectively, at the way Andrew Luck's career unfortunately ended far too quickly, you can clearly see like a philosophical stepwise approach that Ryan Grigson took to building this team, which intentionally compromised the protection of Andrew Luck, just believing that it wasn't going to matter, that Andrew Luck was going to be so good he could deal with the hits and it wouldn't bother him, because of the way that Ryan Grigson spent his money and built this team.
Would you say that the GM kind of got lulled into it because they were winning and Andrew Luck was able to kind of survive it, even though he was getting banged around and still putting up good numbers? Do you think that that's why he probably thought, well, we're still winning. We're making the playoffs. It's not like we're winning 3 games a year. You think that's why he took the bait and decided to do what he did?
I think that played a role in it. Unfortunately, when you look at certain teams and you see their strategies, one thing is clear pretty much throughout most of the free agency era, at least in the most recent 10 or so years, and that's spending a lot in free agency typically is not a very good bang for your buck. You'll see a couple of times teams will do it here and there, go a little bit deeper some years, but for the most part, it's not the way to build a team because you're overspending when you buy a guy on the free market like that. You're going to be able to get better deals and better players for less if you are drafting well and investing your resources in that. And what Grigson decided to do was he wanted to help his defense. His defense wasn't very good, right? So what he thought that he could do is spend in free agency on his defense. And he actually spent the second most dollars in free agency from 2013 through 2015, which is the last 3 years of Andrew Luck's rookie deal, to try to build up this defense that was going to ultimately, what he thought, make the difference. But we live in a salary cap era. And in a salary cap era, if you're spending a ton on the defensive side of the football in free agency, you have to spend less on the offensive side. So he let some good players leave along that offensive line. And by the time we got to 2015, the guys that were defending Andrew Luck were not even realistic players. There were 2 guys that were undrafted free agents, one of which played basketball in college. He didn't even play football. He initially tried out to play football at a tight end position in the NFL. He didn't make it there, and so the Colts converted him to offensive line. And 2 other players along that 5-man line. So we talked about 2 other players the Colts drafted, Ryan Grigson himself drafted. They never got another contract for another team at all. After their rookie deals expired, they went nowhere. They were not good enough players. So, the talent in front of Luck was terrible. And so, yes, I think what he thought he was going to do is, look, we'll survive with this line. It'll be sort of makeshift, but Andrew Luck's so good he can overcome it. We'll spend a lot of money on the defense to help improve our defense quickly. But as it turned out, the defense didn't really improve because it's hard to build a team for 3 straight years through free agency on that side of the ball. You're not going to get players that are going to play up to the level of the money that you're spending in free agency.
Wow. It's the Odd Couple. We're joined by Warren Sharp of Sharp Football Analysis. That was some great, interesting insight. Let me ask you this. Let's go to Ezekiel Elliott. I think Ezekiel Elliott is the best running back in football, but we know how undervalued now running backs seem to be. What do the analytics say that he's worth or he should be the highest paid player in the league?
Well, in terms of
running back in the league. In
terms of being the highest paid running back in the league, look, his metrics certainly paint a pretty compelling picture that that's exactly where he should be paid. But here are the problems. The first and foremost one is that in the NFL, it is very difficult to separate out certain players. Like in baseball, it's a little bit easier. It's super easy. In basketball, it's a little bit harder, but you can still do it. In football, it's very difficult to separate a quarterback from his play caller, right? Those 2 are linked at the hip, conjoined, and it's very difficult to separate out. Like if you got a bad play caller, your quarterback stats are going to just suffer. If you got a great play caller, quarterback might look better than what he is. It's also very difficult to separate out a running back from his offensive line, because if he has a really good offensive line blocking for him, the lanes are going to open up bigger. He's going to look a lot better. And so those are 2 of the positions on offense where they're really reliant upon somebody else. In this case, Dallas has the most expensive offensive line for 2 consecutive years. Jerry has spent a ton of money in draft picks invested in that offensive line and building that up. And it's very difficult, in my opinion, to separate out what would Ezekiel Elliott be behind an average offensive line and what could a backup running back do behind this Dallas Cowboys offensive line. So, yes, Zeke is very talented and very skilled, but what is the replacement level that you could get from a backup running back? How close in production would it come to delivering what Zeke can deliver behind this line? And that's the key caveat, behind this line. because it may not be worth the amount of money that Dallas would have to give up in order to pay him. The sad part, I think, for the Cowboys as it relates to this discussion is the reality, again, we're living in a salary cap era, that for several years now, the Dallas Cowboys had Dak Prescott on a rookie deal, drafted in the third round, very inexpensive, and they had Ezekiel Elliott in his rookie deal, very inexpensive compared to what they'll ultimately have to pay him. And they literally did nothing. I mean, they made no noise in the postseason. They got there once, I guess, and they lost. But
they won one playoff game, right?
Yeah, they beat the Seahawks, and then they lost to the Rams. They probably should have lost to the Seahawks in all truth. But that's just sad for Dallas to have to deal with that in the past. But now it's difficult. I can't tell Jerry, don't pay Zeke, because he really is a great running back, but it is going to hamstring the rest of the decisions that they're going to make. Ultimately, they might have to pay less along that offensive line, and then how will Zeke look behind a more mediocre offensive line is a good question.
Hey, we got about 30 seconds, Warren. Can you please tell Chris about how bad Tom Brady's numbers have been, how they continue to go down, and we saw in the Super Bowl how awful he was?
Well, he knows how great Brady is. I'm sure he's a smart man.
Let Warren tell you about it.
Tom Brady's statistics have fallen off slightly, but if you look at the receiving threats around him, you're really not going to find like significantly above the league level. He's been working with a great offensive coordinator in a great offense with a very good running game. All of those things would help any quarterback look better. But the good thing about Brady is he knows how to audible and get into plays, and he's still got a significantly above average arm. It's just fallen off a little bit from what it was years ago.
What was that, Warren? You said, what was that last
sentence?
It's
fallen off. It's fallen off the cliff, and Tom Brady's going to have 9 touchdowns this year. All right, we got to go.
Warren, great stuff,
Thanks,
man.
Warren.
We'll get you on again.
Guys.
I love the analytic talk.